Hello everyone. So I'm going to present my first article under Module 9, Environment, Ecological and Other Related Issues. So the title of the article that I'm going to present is Indirect Effects of COVID-19 on the Environment. Authors are Manuel E. Zambrano Monserrate, Maria Alejandra Ruano, and Luis Sanchez Alcalde. This is the graphical abstract of the article. So this research aims to show the positive and negative indirect effects of COVID-19 on the environment, particularly in the most affected countries such as China, USA, Italy, and Spain. So this research shows, as you can see, that there is a significant association between contingency measures and improvement in air quality, clean beaches, and environmental noise reduction. On the other hand, there are also negative secondary aspects such as the reduction in recycling and the increase in waste, further endangering the contamination of physical spaces, water, and land. In addition to air, global economic activity is expected to return in the coming months in most countries, so even if slowly, so decreasing greenhouse gases concentration during a short period is not a sustainable way to clean up our environment. For the introduction of this research, the new coronavirus or SARS-CoV has generated an unprecedented impact in most countries of the world. The virus has affected almost every country on the planet, spread to more than 2 million people, and caused around 130,000 deaths, according to the record of World Health Organization. So currently, most countries have tried to fight the spread of the virus with massive COVID-19 screening tests and establishing public policies of social distancing. It is clear that the priority revolves around people's health. So most of the research, most of the articles revolves around finding the effects of COVID-19 towards people's health. Now, for this reason, the indirect impact of the virus on the environment has been detailed analyzed. The first studies estimated a positive indirect impact on the environment. On the other hand, climate experts predict that greenhouse gas emissions could drop to proportions never before seen since World War II. This outcome is mainly due to the social distancing policies adopted by the government following the appearance of the pandemic. So let's take some examples. In Hubei province in China, strong social distancing measures were implemented in late 2019. So these measures affected the country's main economic activities. As a result, power plants and industrial facilities halted their production. Also, the use of vehicles decreased considerably. All this led to a dramatic reduction in the concentrations of nitrogen dioxide and particulate matter that have a diameter of less than 2.5 upper in the main Chinese cities. And in other parts of the world, such as Europe, air pollution has dramatically reduced since governments ordered citizens to stay at home to contain the spread of the new coronavirus. Main industries as well as other regular activities have ground to a halt. So for instance, car use has reduced, which caused greenhouse gases to decrease, which clearly illustrates a sharp reduction in dioxide concentrations in countries such as France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. So the social distancing measures adopted by the most governments have caused many beaches around the world to get cleaned up. This is a result of the reduction in waste generated by tourists who visited the beaches. So likewise, noise levels have fallen significantly in most countries. The decrease in the use of private and public transportation as well as commercial activities has caused a reduction in noise. But despite of the positive indirect effects of the environment, the new coronavirus has also generated negative indirect ones. So let's take for example in the USA, it is said some cities have suspended recycling programs because authorities have been concerned about the risk of spreading the virus in recycling centers. So on the other hand, in the European nations particularly affected, sustainable waste management has been restricted. And for example, also in Italy, they prohibited infected residents from sorting their waste. Now let's proceed to the result of this article or this research, which states the positive and negative indirect effects of COVID-19 on the environment. So let's start with the positive effects. First, we have decreased concentrations of nitrogen dioxide and particulate matter topping 5. So these elements are basically one of the reasons why there is global warming and increase in uh, generations of greenhouse gases. So air quality is essential for people's health. However, 91% of the world population lives in places where poor air quality exceeds the permissible limits. The consequences of air quality degradation are manifested in a significant percentage of global mortality each year. In this regard, the 2016 World Health Organization report indicates that air pollution contributes to almost 8% of total deaths in the world, the most affected countries being those found in Africa, Asia, and part of Europe. So that's where the time when uh, the COVID-19 virus has not yet hit the countries affected. But when the coronavirus outbreak began, so China implemented strict traffic restrictions and self-quarantine measures to control the expansion of SARS-CoV. So these actions generated changes in air pollution. So due to quarantine, nitrogen dioxide was reduced by 22.8% and 12.9% in Wuhan and China respectively. So as you can see in the figure, in figure A, the color red and orange indicates the high concentration of nitrogen dioxide and particulate matter 2.5 during the month of December. That's uh, when the COVID-19 outbreak began to emerge. While on the figure B, when the it was checked by the Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Service, as you can see, there is already a decrease of concentrations of nitrogen dioxide and particulate matter 2.5. This is in China. So in China, all these air quality improvements generated human health benefits that have outnumbered confirmed SARS-CoV deaths in the country. And the second positive indirect effect of COVID-19 pandemic towards the environment is clean beaches. Now, beaches are one of the most important natural capital assets found in coastal areas. They provide services that are critical to the survival of coastal communities and possess intrinsic values that must be protected from overexploitation. However, non-responsible use by people has caused many beaches in the world to present pollution problems. So there was lack of discipline among people who are using the beaches. So the lack of tourists as a result of the social distancing measures due to the new coronavirus pandemic, it has caused a notable change in the appearance of many beaches in the world. So for example, beaches like in those of Acapulco, Barcelona, or Salinas, Ecuador, those beaches were uh, mostly visited by a great number of tourists. They now look cleaner with crystal clear waters. So even if COVID-19 pandemic caused great damage to people, but it has a positive, on the other hand, it has a positive indirect effects toward the environment, and one of it is clean beaches. Third is reduction of environmental uh, noise level. So the imposition of quarantine measures by most governments has caused people to stay at home. With this, the use of private and public transportation has decreased significantly. Also, commercial activities have stopped almost entirely. All these changes have caused the noise level to drop considerably in most cities in the world, especially in four countries under this study: in China, USA, uh, Italy, and Spain. So it is one of the positive effects, the reduction of noise pollution. So even if there are positive indirect effects, impact of COVID-19 towards the environment, there are also negative indirect effects of the pandemic, one of which is the increased waste. The generation of organic and inorganic waste is indirectly accompanied by a wide range of environmental issues such as soil erosion, deforestation, air and water pollution. The quarantine policies established in most countries have led consumers to increase their demand for online shopping for home delivery. Consequently, organic waste generated by household has increased. Also, food purchased online is shipped packed, so organic waste has also increased. Another issue is that medical waste is also on the rise. Hospitals in Wuhan produced an average of 240 metric tons of medical waste per day during the outbreak, compared to their previous average of fewer than 50 tons. In other countries such as the USA, there has been an increase in garbage from personal protective equipment such as masks and gloves. So those are one of the negative indirect effects of the pandemic or the coronavirus, the increase in waste because people are expected to stay at home, and so their waste were not really properly disposed. And also in the particular settings like in hospitals, because there were a great number of COVID-19 patients admitted, so there is obviously an increase in medical waste. And another negative indirect effects also of the pandemic towards the environment is the reduction in waste uh, recycling. So what waste recycling has always been a major environmental problem of interest to all countries. Recycling is a common and effective way to prevent pollution. It saves energy and conserve natural resources. As a result of the pandemic, countries such as the USA have stopped recycling programs in some of their cities as authorities have been concerned about the risk of COVID-19 spreading in recycling centers. In particular, affected European countries, waste management has been restricted also. So, for example, in Italy, they have prohibited infected residents from sorting their waste. Also, the industry has seized the opportunity to repel disposable bag bans, even though single-use plastic can still harbor viruses and bacteria. So, before the pandemic hits, any particular country. So people used to do waste recycling, but when the coronavirus starts to emerge in the different parts of the world, so the government were concerned about the health aspect of those people who are doing recycling. So they prohibited doing that particular uh, recycling because they might get infected by the virus when they are exposed outside. We have also other indirect effects of COVID-19 on the environment. So, for example, China has asked wastewater treatment plants to strengthen their disinfection routines, mainly through increased use of chlorine to prevent the new coronavirus from spreading through the waste water. However, there is no evidence on the survival of the SARS-CoV virus in drinking water or waste water. So, on the contrary, the excess of chlorine in the water could generate harmful effects on people's health. So, the government in China was thinking that people could get coronavirus from the uh, water. So they plan to treat their uh, water system with using the increase of use of chlorine, but there was no study, there was no clear evidence on the survival actually of the virus in the drinking water. So the increase of chlorine in the water could actually generate harmful effects on people's health. So let's proceed to the third part of this article, which is the discussion of the result. So this research aims to expose the first indirect effects that the new coronavirus has had on the environment. The positive and the negative indirect effects are highlighted. So in conclusion, it's concluded that COVID-19 will produce both positive and negative indirect effects on the environment, but the latter will be greater. So the positive, as mentioned, there were more positive indirect effects of COVID-19 compared to the negative effects. So furthermore, the virus crisis brings other environmental problems that may last longer and may be more challenging to manage if countries neglect the impact of the epidemic on the environment. And part of this article is also the declaration of competing interest. So it states that the authors declare that they have no known competing financial interest or personal relationships that could have appeared to influence the work reported in this paper. And the last part of the article are the references in APA format. So presented here are some of the examples where the authors had their sources of data and information. So that's all for this article. Thank you very much for your time in listening. Once again, I'm Ricky C. Arot, MAED student, major in social science. Thank you.